This week from GNC Week in Review, powered by GeekNewsCentral.com. Roaring Kitty is getting sued. Google is paying News Corp, and Amazon wants you to build it. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week, and it's Friday, February 19th, 2021. My name is Kirk Corliss.
And I'm Scott Ertz.
And this is episode 82 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, proud partner of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live at gncweekly.com/live, as well as Facebook Live. So please be sure to say hello in chat or comment. Excuse me. If you missed a live video, also be sure to like and subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. If you miss a live video, that's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a new listener, please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast where you can find on the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Also, this podcast can be found on the Pandora app and the iHeartRadio app. If you have a comment, be it on social media or email, and those links can all be found at gncweekly.com/connect. So last week took off. I wasn't feeling well. Scott, you mentioned on F5 Live, excuse me, you weren't feeling well.
Yeah.
And
I've had the pleasure of fighting COVID with my family.
Right. Right. So we all took a week off, and also too, just want to give everyone a heads up. There's a lot of great content from the from CES 2021, the virtual CES 2021. So Scott has been editing his heart out with a lot of videos, and we were discussing before we came on air some of the interviews that were going on. So so it's at plugitslive.com/CES. There's a lot of videos from all the interviews so far, the interviews that were on. A lot of great companies that were on, from ranging again from one end of the spectrum to the other. So definitely, definitely check it out.
That's one of our hallmarks. Everything from a portable blender to software to help you communicate with your government easier. So, yeah.
It was a great. Yeah, again, it was a great. And you mentioned you had how many more left to go? You said.
I think today number 75. I can't. My whiteboard is up in the office. I think number 75 published today. There's a total of 103. So 28 to go.
Okay. Oh, put the wrong banner up. Okay, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, put the wrong banner up. Okay. All right, yes, definitely check them out. A lot of good stuff that happened. And Todd is a master. I mean, I'm just kidding, Todd. Scott is a master at editing, and a lot of great stuff. And I had a pleasure.
I wish I felt the same way. Sometimes I feel way in over my head, but that's okay.
The proof is in the pudding. And again, definitely kudos. All right, so we're going to jump in with news from this week. Now, it's been reported, and we discussed on the prior episode about GameStop and Wall Street Bets, Reddit, Robinhood, and the whole cluster play. Well, one of the most prominent figures in the Wall Street Bets subreddit that sent GameStop stock exploding has been slapped with a lawsuit. Yeah. The suit alleges Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, is a licensed security.
If you followed any of the memes, you've heard that name before.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we all know that's it. Well, name exploding all over. He is a licensed securities professional instead of an amateur investor, and it claims, which I was like, woohoo! And it claims he profited from the GameStop short squeeze by manipulating the market. We talked about that in the previous episode. The proposed class action suit says, quote, Gill's deceitful and manipulative conduct not only violated numerous industry regulation and rules, but also various security laws by undermining the integrity of the market for GameStop shares. He caused enormous losses, not only to those who bought option contracts, but also to those who fell for Gill's act and bought GameStop stock during the market frenzy at greatly inflated prices.
Yes.
Which that definitely happened. And again, good on him that he got busted. According to the filing, Gill, quote, actively worked as a professional in investment and financial industries for many years. It claims that he holds a number of security licenses and qualifications, including a chartered financial analyst license. The suit also states, excuse me, the suit also states that Gill, who is set to testify before the House Financial Services Committee on Thursday, he was previously employed by Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company as a, quote, financial wellness director. So when he goes to testify, he's going to be in deep doo-doo.
Yeah, and there's the potential for so much worse here because there's still the potential of them finding out that he or his cohorts benefited from this scheme, in which case it's insider trading.
Right.
And that comes with jail time, as Martha Stewart can tell you.
Right. But also too, it's that it's not going to be, this is when he testifies, when he goes to this committee, it's not going to be, partisan left or the other. Both Democrat, Republican, no matter what seat you sit on, they're going to be on him like white on rice. And
everybody's pissed off about this.
Exactly. Not just politicians, but
for different reasons. But everybody's pissed off about this.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that, again, there was something amiss when it started posting on Reddit and then everything jumped on the bandwagon thinking it was a good deal, for GameStop. And also people were thinking that, GameStop is this valuable company when in fact it's not. It's just the stock that the stock does mean certain things. If the company is doing well, then obviously, the stock reflects it. But in this case, GameStop is not doing well. Excuse me.
So and was already overpriced. That was the key here. The thing that a lot of people who aren't actively involved in the stock market don't understand is what the price of the stock indicates. It doesn't indicate the success of the company. It indicates the market's confidence in future success of the company, which is why you'll see companies with a early companies with a high value, or a company like Tesla or Uber that is constantly posting losses with high stock prices, because the market knows that those problems are going to be solved eventually. They don't necessarily know when, but they know those problems will be solved. But in the case of GameStop, the reason why the stock price was high is unknown. And professional investors knew that the bottom was going to fall out. Of course it was. GameStop's a disaster.
Right.
They closed the wrong side of the business when they got rid of the ThinkGeek brand.
I remember ThinkGeek.
They should have gotten rid of the GameStop brand and made it a sub of ThinkGeek instead of the other way, because that's where the value was. I don't know how they screwed that one up, but everybody knew that the floor was going to fall out,
right?
And so investors were going to take advantage of that. And I always knew somebody involved in this had more knowledge than everybody else.
Right.
I never knew who, because I didn't know the community. But not knowing the community and watching from the outside, my first reaction, and I said this to my brother, I said this to Mark Lauder, who used to guest host on F5 Live. I said, somebody in here knows too much, and I don't know who. Now I do.
Right. And me too. I as well, because when I noticed this, I follow the tech industry and the news and everything. I'm noticing not necessarily what the story, what happened with Reddit and all what have you, but I was wondering. I'm like, how in God's name is it this high? The company is not doing well. I mean, and they were saying that they were closing some stores. Well, there's one near me.
A lot more stores. Yeah,
Right.
they expanded the number they were closing by like another 150.
Right. And I was like, and I was wondering, and all of a sudden that pops up. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, that's like, but then for this guy to get nailed, I mean, good on them. So I hope
Yeah.
I hope he gets the maximum that he deserves.
And it's only going to get worse for him.
Right.
'Cause I promise that they're going to go looking to see if they can prove insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anybody he's ever worked with or spoken to in the last year saw any financial gain from this, bought in early before it, just as it was happening, he's going to get nailed for insider trading. I guarantee it.
And he's going to probably room with Bernie Madoff. Supermax.
Yeah, and then he's going to get one of the anklets from Stop.
Right.
I know way too much about that stuff.
Got to tell you more
But we
later.
won't get into that.
Yeah, you can find more later. All right, other news this week. There's a little bit of Google news, and now on this past Sunday of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, excuse me, Scott and Abram dissected the story about Google's publishing battle in Australia. And so, Scott, for those who didn't, well, I recommend subscribing to F5 Live Refreshing Technology Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. So for those who didn't watch the episode, can you provide just like a brief summary of what happened?
Yeah. So we have to go back a little bit to understand the story. Back to about 2012, Spain passed a law that said that Google, well, not specifically Google, but yes, specifically Google, news for the Google News section had to pay. Google would have to pay the news publishers for access to their content. Google said no and shut down Google News in Spain. Eventually, they came to an agreement. Google News came back. Last year, the EU, and particularly in France, a similar law was passed, and an agreement was reached there. That was all about Google News, though. This story is bigger than that. This story in Australia is about Google and Facebook. Anytime somebody shares a link to a news article on their site, including Google search, Google, Facebook, whoever will have to pay a royalty for the right to share a link, which is insane. Tim Berners-Lee, who created the World Wide Web, has said that this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the web. Obviously, Google and Facebook agree because this is an existential crisis for their business models. So yes, what's happening in Australia is terrifying. Okay. Not just for Google and Facebook, but potentially for us, because if we, in our show notes, we link to other news sites, are we at some point going to grow to the point where we have to pay them for the right to include those links? Now, granted, I would love to have the number of visitors that this law is going to require for this to be a problem, because it's a lot. I don't remember what it is, but something like 100 million click-throughs or something like that. We're not going to have that problem anytime soon, but it's definitely a problem, and it is pushing a bigger monopoly into the big guys, because they're going to get paid by Google, but you and I never will, because again, we will never be big enough for them to have an agreement with us, because technically we're news too, right? But we don't have enough traffic for us to qualify either. So it is an overall disaster.
And with that in mind, and speaking of paying, Google has signed a 3-year agreement to carry content from News Corp publications in the US, UK, and Australia, as Scott mentioned. Google's news showcase will now feature stories from the Wall Street Journal, Market Watch, and other outlets. The financial terms of the deal weren't disclosed, but News Corp described the payments it will receive from Google as, quote, significant. Additionally, it said the web giant would share ad revenue, invest in audio and video content from its publications, as well as develop a subscription platform as part of the agreement. So my whole thing is that why should Google pay for content where you can get it literally, and like you said in the example, excuse me, it's like everything's like now everything's what going to be in a paywall now?
No. So, okay. So here's the thing with this. This is the other side of things. This is the Google News. This is if you don't use Google News, but you do use, say, the Microsoft keeps rebranding it. I think it's currently called MSN News or Apple News or something like that. You see headlines, you see pictures, you see text, you see content. There's more than just a link and a description that you as a website give Google for search and things like that. This is the news showcase. This is when you go to google.com/news. It is it's curated content. It is very focused, and it includes content, which is different than search, right? Search doesn't include content. It might give a teeny tiny thumbnail, and it might give a synopsis, which you put into your HTML, to tell Google what to show. But that's it. That's very different than Google News. Google News is showing content. So they have licensed content. From what I understand, though, this does not include. No, this does include for Australia. If things go sideways, this does include contracts for that side of things. Though that law may be falling apart.
So it seems like, because I understand from a lot of the news I've been reading about and seeing about that, with Australia, they're like, you know what, there's a big battle between Google and Australia for the past year or so or more.
Yeah, at least.
And it seems like
we've covered it 3 times on the show, twice in the last 6 weeks, and then once about a year ago.
So it's like Google's like, you know what, screw it, let's just dump them like a whole boatload of money to get them off our back, but also in the same token, it's like, I mean, come on. I mean, Google is like, is mostly, we all know, it's all about advertising revenue, and it's all about, it's all about search, but it's like, I think that Google's priorities maybe to me, has shifted for some strange reason in a totally different direction.
Yeah. Well, so in this case, I understand this. This is reproduction rights. And Abrams great on this, because when he was the online editorial director for Laptop Mag and Tom's Guide, they would occasionally have their content syndicated. Yahoo News would pick it up and republish the text, and obviously they paid for that because they were republishing content. And that's what Google News does. And for a long time, they believed that they could just grab an RSS feed, curate it to their heart's content, and to hell with the publisher. And what they have learned is the publishers are tired of that. They would love to be listed there, but not for free, because there's no ad revenue being generated when people come to their site.
And that's what.
And Abram talks about this a lot when we talk about this, because it's the ad revenue. Publishers have a love-hate relationship with Google. Yes, we love that Google brings people to our sites. We also kind of hate it when they steal our text and put it up in an answer box at the top. I mean, sometimes you can game that. You can talk to Todd about that.
Right.
And you can figure out how to take advantage of that answer box to suit your needs. But when it steals content and then your people never come to your site, you've spent money to create the content and you've generated no revenue off of it. But Google has. Hooray!
Right.
So there's already a love-hate relationship with Google, and Google News is very similar to what they tried to do with Google Places, where they just wholesale ripped off data from Yelp and went, look, here's information. And Yelp went, hey, what? That's ours. And they had to sue them, and they won. And it was a big thing, and Google Places doesn't exist anymore.
But here's a question. Do you honestly think the people, because I don't really go to Wall Street Journal to further content, or I mean, occasionally, well, also too, when working on the stories of the week for our show, but also when I do work on the show for Todd, and Wall Street Journal's on a paywall. Any majority of the, with exception of Fox News, well, let's Fox News is a whole different sticking point with Todd as well, but that's a different story. But a lot of the publications that News Corp has, Wall Street Journal, and I think there's a few others, I'm not really sure off the top of my head which the ones are. If there are, let us know, because I'd like to find out. They're under paywalls. So, if I want to go to their content, I want to know what's going on, but I don't feel that, I should, if I want to get news, I want to go to sources no matter where they are, but I shouldn't go to a paywall to get it.
Yeah. The internet is trying to figure out that there's a reckoning that's happening right now, and online advertisement is not the solution. That is what's being learned. Because ad blockers, people don't understand that the internet is supposed to be free. Right. So, in our industry here, there's Patreon, which has become popular. And then, love him or hate him, he created a new concept for online media, Glenn Beck and Blaze TV. Or it was originally the Blaze. I think it's now officially Blaze TV when they bought Mark Levin's network, who I think is now in charge, but that's not the point. They created this idea of essentially an online television network that has been hugely successful, right? So you've got on there, you've got a couple of high profile people, Beck, Levin, Steven Crowder, and you can get some of their content for free, and some of it's behind a paywall. Very similar to what Patreon is. Patreon does for our space. The Daily Wire does the same thing. But everybody's trying to figure out how advertising and how subscriptions fit into the media world. And News Corp has been kind of at the forefront of this. The Wall Street Journal used to be, you could only read the articles online if you had a physical paper subscription, which was a weird thing. But that was HBO Now, right? Or HBO Go. I see. Garbage branding. You had to be a subscriber to the TV service to be able to use the mobile thing, which was weird. And it was the same thing with the Wall Street Journal. That's going away. And we're starting to see more and more of this where, the Daily Wire's printed articles, written articles are available to everybody. Steven Crowder is the same way. The written articles are free with ads, but if you're a member, the ads go away and you get behind the scenes stuff. You get the full show. Crowder does an hour and a half every day, and 60 minutes is free, 30 is behind the paywall. So this is just part of that. And I think what you're going to see is that this agreement, when all the details are really released, what we'll see is some of the Wall Street Journal content will be syndicated through Google News, and you'll get the whole article. And that's because Google is paying for the subscription for you.
Right.
But it's not going to be everything. Some stuff will still be behind. So there's a change happening, and we are witness to it. The whole internet is changing. Not the whole internet. The whole web is changing.
Yes.
I try not to conflate those two because they're different. The whole web is changing.
Right.
And this is just part of it. Now, the stuff in Australia is a whole different mess. That is a special hell that Google and Facebook are getting themselves into. And my favorite thing this week, absolute favorite thing this week, Facebook said, "Let us show you what it'll look like if you pass this law." And they pulled all news content from Facebook in Australia, which included being able to share links to Facebook. Oops.
Yep. Well, that's why because when I was for the week of news, I wanted I saw that and I knew that it was talked about with you guys. I talked about it on Sunday, so I kind of want to tie it together. So, but I still think that, to me, honestly, the saying goes, content is king, and also too, get they have to support themselves, support it. Yeah, like your example, Patreon. And I get that as well, but I just think that
content is king, but the king makes the rules. That's the thing, right? Content is king, but the king makes the rules.
Right.
Wall Street Journal is one of the kings. Their content is still one of the best. They have their finger on the pulse of the market in a way that nobody else does. Market Watch is pretty close behind, which is also News Corp. Market Watch is free. The Wall Street Journal is not.
Right.
So, the king is making the rules. And in this case, the rules are, if you want the Wall Street Journal, there's a paywall. You get 3 free per month or per week, or I don't remember what it is. And then once you've hit that, then you pay. Now, I won't tell people that if you use Pure VPN, it breaks their article counter, because that would be wrong to say.
Right. Well,
but it does.
Well,
a VPN service screws up the Wall Street Journal's free article counter per month. So,
well, I hope that, just to put a little nudge in your your Sunday show, I hope that you can tie that in, because I would love to hear, Abrams' thoughts about it. Maybe he might be my way of thinking, maybe, but not. That's okay.
We've talked about paywalls and the idea of subscription fatigue, which we're all starting to feel. So there's definitely some problems out there, though. I can tell you that I have signed up for some of those paywall subscriptions recently, particularly because I want the drinkware.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, cool. All right. So we're circling back to CES for a second. And when the best part of CES, besides all the cool stuff, is Eureka Park. And the saying goes, they're in that mad scientist phase. There's prototypes, things are not out to market yet. And it's a plethora. And see, I kick myself and see, next year I did
on day one before you hurt yourself.
Right. Right. Day one. Exactly. And probably media day or something like that. But before I'm throwing my head out for TD in the morning, but in the afternoon, and I think we'll talk about it off air, and how to do it. I'm definitely going on Eureka Park, because last year I wanted to, because obviously, virtual, but the before, but that was different. But but any event, Eureka Park, it's a really great place to see.
Part of the show.
It is totally. Now, with that in mind, Amazon on Wednesday announced a new product or program called Build It to let consumers have a say in some of the products Amazon will produce. Now, it's a kind of like Kickstarter, where Amazon customers can choose to back a new product, and if it gets enough support within 30 days, Amazon will build it. Customers will get charged only if the product is developed and ships. Amazon wouldn't say whether it plans to use this program for all of its products or may open up to third-party vendors. Amazon Build It kicks off three concepts: a $89.99 smart sticky note printer, which I think is pretty interesting; a $34.99 smart nutrition scale; and a $79.99 cuckoo clock. Who would want a cuckoo clock is beyond me. Customers who back a product gets a pre-order discount. The price will increase if it is made widely available. Now, with the printer, it works with Alexa and uses thermal technology instead of ink to print out small sticky note reminders. Okay. The scale can tell you how many calories are in specific foods. The cuckoo clock works with Alexa on an Amazon Echo and has a mechanical pop-out cuckoo bird. If someone buys this, or someone knows how the cuckoo clock, why? Amazon said it won't say how much money a specific product needs to launch. It will show a progress bar that shows how far along a product is and a percentage of the backing needs to complete. The current concepts will be available at promotional prices through March 19th. And Amazon said more ideas are coming. So I think this is great. I mean, of course, Amazon is basically buying into God knows what. I think I saw.
They're trying. I see what they're doing here. Yeah. Amazon has had some wild ideas for products in the last couple of years.
Yeah, smart microwave.
And a lot of them have failed spectacularly once they've hit the market.
Smart microwave.
The clock that wasn't a clock. I don't remember exactly the details about it, but I very specifically remember there being a clock that wasn't really a clock. I wish I could remember the details on it though. But I remember at the time thinking, no way that works. And it turned out, no way it worked. Mm-hmm. And I think what they're trying to do is use the idea of Woot. And because this is more like Woot than it is Kickstarter, because you're not actually backing the product. You're not putting money into a company in the hopes that a product gets made. You are, it's more like a pledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like Mass Drop, which changed its name. I think it's just Drop now. Where you get a progress bar, but you don't know necessarily what the progress is, and the thing only happens at a certain point. Not that you are putting money in the hopes that a product is made. Mm-hmm. You are saying, if a product is made, I will buy it, which is very different from Kickstarter, because there's no opportunity. I mean, there's no opportunity to get screwed by a company that is just a guy trying to buy a car, which we've seen happen on Kickstarter. There was the guy in New York who got sued. Mm-hmm. This is Amazon saying, if enough people pledge to buy the thing, then we'll make it. Which I like. It's an interesting idea, and it's a great way to avoid tech waste. The fire phone may not have ever happened.
Right. Right.
I've still got to find one.
I knew you had one. I knew you had it.
No, I have to find one. I never bought one. I need to though, because it is one of the biggest tech flops that I don't own. There are very few major tech flops that I don't own. I mean, for the love of God, I've got a Lisa. I've got 2 HP touchpads. I love major tech flops.
Right.
The Newton and a Fire phone are the two big ones I need to get a hold of.
Well, there was also the Facebook phone that lasted for a hot minute.
That HTC partnership.
That's the
weird
one. Yep.
thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. There was the Kin, which I do have.
I
have a 1 and a 2. They were great. Verizon screwed that one up. That doesn't matter. Anyway, they weren't a smartphone. They were a feature phone. Anyway,
right.
You can't add the $20 a month for a phone aimed at 13-year-olds. Anyway,
exactly.
I bet that phone would have worked 10 years ago instead of 12. Anyway, I think this is a great idea. It's a smart way for Amazon to take advantage of crowd interest. Because it's not crowdfunding. It's crowd interest.
Right.
So here's my credit card. Charge it if you make it. And then enough people say that and they make it. It makes sense to me. That's a pretty smart move.
And
way better than making a microwave and selling 11 of them.
Right.
and all of them catching fire. Right. But that's a whole different issue.
Right. But again, that goes back to with Rika Park is that, I mean, when we were down there in press and everything, because the analysts and buyers weren't down there, it was mostly press. But there was a lot of interest in a lot of products. And, and also, and with, going back to the example we always bring up, which is a great story, with Benjulock, Benjulock just had a prototype and they had nothing.
A non-working prototype at that.
Exactly. So, without that interest, I'm like, this is a really great product to be, disregard Shark Tank and, buying with Hampton, what have you.
In fairness, I think the producers from Shark Tank met him in Eureka Park.
Okay. Well, okay. That's fair. But I think that, with the interest that, that people have for a product, and like, okay, that's great, and be more inclined to purchase one. I think that, with Amazon, with this program, it's a very, some of the names they come up with these companies come up with is like mind-boggling to say the least. But I'm I'm with you. I think it's a great idea. So hopefully we'll see these products come up, and hopefully there won't be fires or anything exploding.
See, I think some of the product quality issues that they've had have been because they didn't know if it was going to work in the market until they tried to produce it cheap. Honestly. And sometimes they were right. A lot of times they were right because they've produced a lot of stupid products. And so, you look at that microwave, it wasn't just a white label microwave, right? It was something that was designed by them for them because of the weird Alexa integration.
Right.
And so, that was a custom design. Nobody went, what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a microwave with Alexa and hope I can sell the product to somebody. Nobody's going to do that. Amazon said, we're going to build Alexa into a microwave, but we don't know if people are going to want it. So we're going to build it cheaply.
Right.
And you end up with them catching fire. So this could cut down on that. This could cut down on the tech waste of them producing products that nobody ever wants. Again, like the microwave. Right. Honest to God, I think they sold 11 of them. And it's a solution to a lot of problems. Yeah. So.
Well, again, personally for me, I think the sticky note printer is great. I have to say,
you want the cuckoo clock for Christmas. That's what I heard.
God, no. I'm sorry. There's no way I'm going to. No, absolutely not. I just like to know who has a cuckoo clock, and again, why?
Older women. That's where the cuckoo clocks exist, and they don't want Alexa built into it.
Right.
They've definitely missed the mark on that one. And
Yep.
thank goodness
Right.
it's in this program. It will never get funded
Hmm.
and it'll never be produced, and we can move on with our day.
You got it. And if I see that popping up on when I go for Amazon, I'm blaming you. All right. Other news this week: consumers love their Chromebooks so much that that it's in 2020 that the Google's Chrome OS is now the second most popular operating system in the PC space, easily surpassing Apple's Mac OS. Data from IDC and Strategy Analytics independently confirmed it. Strategy Analytics. If I get the words out, oh my God, it's been a long week. Reported that Chromebooks outsold MacBooks during 2020, and especially during the fourth quarter. Research from IDC, which included desktops and its analysis, reported similar findings. A third analyst firm, Canalys, compiled data showing that total worldwide Chromebook shipments nearly quadrupled in 2020 to 11.2 million units, compared to 2.9 million in 2019. Now, in 2019, Strategy Analytics reported that Chrome OS market share by units sold reached 10.5% versus Mac OS at 9.1%. But those figures spiked during 2020. Chrome OS represented 14.9% of all notebook computers sold during 2020, while Mac OS represented 8.7%. Windows market share by units sold dropped from 78.9% in 2019 to 75.2% in 2020. During the first quarter of 2020, Chrome OS sales reached a new high, 16.4% of all units sold versus Mac OS at 9.1% and Windows at 73.3%. Analysis research director Rushabha Doshi, if I'm mispronouncing this person's name, I apologize, said, quote, demand for Chromebooks is through the roof, with many countries being forced to accelerate their digital education plans in the wake of additional lockdowns. Schools and universities are clamoring for easy to deploy solutions, and Google's digital offerings for education are providing quite popular over viral platforms, especially US and Western Europe. And I think the reason why Chromebooks have been extremely popular is because everyone with schools and lockdown and doing virtual learning, it's cheap. Yep, they're cheap, and all they have to do is get on Zoom or what have you, and that's why a lot of people aren't buying MacBooks.
So the perception that Mac has had any sales of any distinction has always been a myth. The reason people think there are a lot of Macs out in the world is because tech journalists tend to use them, and marketing firms tend to use them. So you see them in ads, you see them in TV shows, you see them in movies because they already are there, or because Apple gave them to them, not because people are buying them. The numbers over the since the iPhone 3G or 3GS came out, so 2008, 2009, the numbers have basically remained unchanged for Apple. They spiked at that point because you could only develop for the iPhone on a Mac. So developers bought them, and then they plateaued. And they've been that way for 15 years because nobody buys Macs, just statistically. They are just barely above Linux when it comes to active devices on the market. And this comes down to sales. A lot of Macs are out in the wild because they're provided to people for free. For example, the media. The reason why Chrome has seen such a huge boost on Windows didn't see that big of a dip. That came almost equally off of both ends, right? Mac saw about a 2% decrease and Windows saw about a 2% decrease for the 4.5% increase that Chrome saw. Is entirely because of education, because they're cheap. Because I think HP has discontinued their $99 Windows laptop, which was the smartest thing they ever announced at CES. because they were designed for education. It was a brilliant product. They're gone, I think, because I haven't seen those weird candy colored laptops in a while. And yes, Microsoft has some plans, some deals for schools on their own, but Microsoft doesn't make, these devices here are not designed as low end devices. These are, the stuff that Microsoft makes are premium devices.
Mhm.
So yeah, sure. Schools, students, teachers get a 10% discount on Microsoft hardware, but it's a $3,000 laptop.
Right.
When you can go get a Chromebook. Chromebooks are the new Android tablets. You can go get a Chromebook for $79. It's not a good computer.
Right.
But if you're a school district that's trying to buy one for every student in your school district with no additional funding, $79 Chromebooks suddenly become really attractive. So,
and also too, I have a Chromebook that I use, my daughter uses as well, and it doesn't have a lot of it's a Chromebook. Basically, you have to run on the internet, so you can't really do a whole hell of a lot, but with Google Docs that she uses, and I help her with when she with schoolwork and have you, it's great.
Mm-hmm. And there's now that Chromebooks can install Android apps, you can even install the Office suite. There's all kinds of things that you can install because you've got Android app access now. So yeah, there's a lot more potential there today than there was, say, 2 years ago. So Google's in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of other Google news, from ComScore, Google and Facebook's share of the top 15 mobile apps by reach in the U.S. has increased in the past few years. Nearly, 80% of all digital minutes are spent on mobile, and roughly 88% of those mobile minutes are spent within apps. Over the past 6 years, Google and Facebook have collectively owned roughly 8 of the top 10 smartphone apps in the U.S. and a sizable chunk of the top 15. The top 15 apps in the U.S. as of this month and this recording, I guess, from ComScore: number 1, YouTube; number 2, Facebook; Gmail at number 3; Google Maps at number 4; Google Search at 5, hence going back to we talked about earlier; Facebook Messenger at 6; Amazon 7; Weather Channel at 8; Google Play at 9; Instagram 10; Apple News, Google at 11; Google Drive at 12; Google Photos 13; Pandora 14; Spotify 15. So I have, with the exception of Instagram and Apple News and Weather Channel, I use all of them.
Fascinating. So 10 of those 15 are either Google or Facebook. That's, if you're watching, you saw me counting as we hit on ones that weren't. It's actually fascinating how many of these I don't have.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm on there. In fact, I think Facebook Messenger.
8 of the 15 I either don't have or don't use.
Yeah, I don't use Instagram, and I'm on YouTube. I use these services literally like every day.
Mm-hmm. YouTube, obviously, you and I don't have much of a choice,
right?
But to spend a lot of time in.
Exactly.
Sitting here right now, I have it open literally on 3 devices.
See, ditto.
Plus whatever's happening up in the office.
Right. Yeah, and for whatever reason, I use Facebook Messenger exclusively with you and I. Because I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, because honestly, goodness, anytime that I'm like posting something on Facebook, they'll put a comment below or whatever about things going on in the world. But literally, I kid you not, exclusively, I only use Facebook for you, Messenger for you.
That's funny. I've grown to use it because obviously for people who know me well, they know that I have a variety of devices all over the place, and Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I'm on either of the phones or the laptop or the computer upstairs or down here. It's always available everywhere I am. That's the only reason why I have any strong interest in it. But I am quickly pulling away from Facebook.
I think with Facebook, I know that there's a lot of talk about Facebook, good and bad. And I just look at it I look at it to see if there's anything news related. But I also see other things that are really just not really. I'm like you. I really can't for whatever reason I'm like gravitated to it, and I look at it, and I'm on it literally like in the morning. I'm usually on it. I look at it in the morning before I go to work while I'm at home. So so I look at it in the morning. I look at it. I scroll up. And I know you guys will see. I know you guys can't see me because right now my setup is a little awkward at the moment. But because remember my setup and everything. But I'll be back video, soon. So I'm scrolling up and everything, and I'm literally on it for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I go to the groups, and I scroll on a few things. And the only thing I'm really interested in, honestly, I look at Todd's page for things going on with Blueberry, who's the sister company or the parent company of Raw Voice. That's a long story.
Other way around. Raw Voice is the parent company of Blueberry.
Okay. I always get that mixed up. What? Like several
Raw
years
Voice is the company. Blueberry is a brand.
Got it. Okay. I always get that mixed up for whatever reason over many years. So, I look at his or I'll look into and I'll check in on Plugits with the news. That's where I get my news, like in anything that's going on in tech world. So I'm not well versed, but in a know. So I'm like, okay, I didn't know about this and this, and I'm like, but lately though, it's like, there's no weed, and I'm on Twitter, and I check. That's where I really go for news because there's a plethora of stuff of that. I try to weed out some things, but but for the most part, honestly, I'm ready to if a lot of friends of my friends and family is on it, but it's like lately I'm like more and more I'm thinking I don't want to be on it anymore. I just rather I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I have gotten to the point where I've curated my news real strong. I use NetVibes as an RSS aggregator. I do all my news in NetVibes. It's how I do my show prep. That was the best decision I ever made. I truly believe they're the best RSS aggregator out there. And I've got all my stuff in there. I read stuff in there. I can open it up in the browser to get the full articles. I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media anymore unless I'm managing one of the way too many pages that I manage at this point.
Right.
I've got in the page manager. I think they changed the name, business manager or whatever. I've got like 3 full scrolls on my phone of pages. There's 40 of them in there. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I'm involved in too many things. If you haven't figured it out,
you got your hands in a lot of in the proverbial cookie jar,
and always coming up with other new and dumb ideas.
Well, that makes you
to steal more of my time away.
Well, that makes you. So that's what I love about you. All right. Speaking of computers, I guess getting on the other side of the coin, Samsung has a pair of new laptops in development, the Galaxy Book Pro and Galaxy Book Pro 360, which includes OLED displays and will be compatible with the company's S Pen stylus, is reporting from Sam Mobile. The Galaxy Book Pro 360 is said also to be available with 5G connectivity. Which of course, again, there's not a 5G to go around. Sam's Mobile reports does not go into details about the new specs of the OLED displays, such as what the resolution will be, the refresh rates. Reportedly, the laptops will have available with 13.3 inch and 15.6 inch screens. Beyond the screens and the S Pen support, the new Windows laptop are rumored to be powered by Intel Core i5 and i7 CPUs. The Galaxy Pro 360 is thought to be a convertible 2-in-1 laptop with 360 hinge to allow its screen to be flipped around and used like a tablet.
That's, as soon as I heard that name, that was my first assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's a convertible, which would make sense.
Yeah. And Samsung has great products. Again, I have a Samsung Chromebook, and so I'm definitely interested in seeing this. But of course, excuse me, I'm with the Dell camp for now. So if this comes down the line, I'll definitely take a peek at it.
Yeah, the Galaxy Book Pros have been good. You know, the S Pen support. I mean, if you're watching me right now, you will see that I have my Surface Pen attached to my computer because I love the stylus ability when I do artwork and stuff, because all of the graphics for Plug Hits Live I do, and the stylus is what allows that kind of thing. It's one of the reasons why I've got that phone, because I can use the stylus. So it's I always like seeing more laptops that support stylus. Touch is fine, but that kind of fine control for creatives and stuff with the pen is nice. And the S Pen is a great device. It's really high quality. So I can't wait to hear the full specs on these things. No telling when we'll hear.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, yeah, from his report from Sam's Mobile didn't really get into a lot of detail. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on it to see and also prices weren't announced and things of that nature. So
yeah.
So
they picked up a rumor from somebody inside who wasn't allowed to speak on the topic. I haven't read the article, but I assume that those words are there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Right.
From an anonymous source inside with
sources or better word
information on the development who's not permitted to speak openly on the subject.
Or the other saying is sources familiar with the matter says.
Yeah.
All right. Other news this week: following pressure from pretty much everyone, Comcast won't enforce a 1.2 terabyte data cap customers in the U.S. Northeast until 2022. This is from the company the company said an announcement that was quoted or saw by Ars Technica. Comcast says, excuse me, we quote, "We are delaying implementation of our new data plan Northeast state markets until 2022. We recognize that our data plan was new for our customers in Northeast, and while only a very small percentage of customers need additional data, we're providing them with more time to become familiar with the new plan." Now, Comcast first announced to implement a data cap in the Northeast.
A small percentage of our customers. We debunked that on our show,
right,
on F5 Live a couple months back.
Right, or they say bullpucky.
Yeah, that small percentage of customers has grown to, what was it, 8.5% or something like that?
Yes.
That's not a small percentage of our customers.
No, it's not.
Less than 1%. That's a small percentage. And more than 1% uses 2 terabytes.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically Comcast, having this nice little boilerplate blowing smoke up your butt.
Uh-huh.
Now, Comcast first announced that it would implement a data cap in the Northeast, in the United States in November for customers who went over their data allotment. Comcast had planned to charge them $10 for every additional 50 gig they went over the 1.2 terabyte limit, up to a maximum of $100 per billing cycle. Oh, I'm glad I got Verizon. To quote, ease customers into the new cap, Comcast said to waive any overage fees in January and February and throw in a yearly bill credit people can use if they went over the limit at any point after the first 2 months of 2021. So this delay, if you live in Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, Maryland, Maine, New Hampshire, New Jersey, woohoo, North Carolina, New York, Pennsylvania, Vermont, West Virginia, and the District of Columbia. However, If you live in the other 27 states, that makes up Comcast's 39 state footprint. You in those states has had data caps since 2016. And lastly, Comcast didn't say when in 2022 it plans to implement the data cap in the Northeast.
January 1st.
Right.
As soon as possible. 2022 sounds like it's further away than it really is.
Right.
Because February is almost over. I don't know how that happened.
It went by quick, and also and for those who live in the Northeast, I want to know where Phil's at, because I want to have a talk with him. Oh, there's so much snow. Oh, I can't stand it. Okay.
I guess I shouldn't tell you that my windows are open.
No, because
they're closed right now because the wind is kicking up and I could hear it on the microphone. But
okay, no, I don't hear it. I have to get better.
I closed right now for the show.
Good,
but they've been open all day.
Oh, good. Well, you in warm, sunny Pinellas County can.
Yes, I am here on purpose.
Right.
This was not an accident.
Right
here.
Right. So, yeah, we got roughly 8 inches of snow today. 8 inches of snow last week. So, and I have to get up early in the morning to shovel out my car.
I work with the office that my client is out of is in the Boston area.
Oh, they got hammered.
Yeah, they did. I felt so bad. I was on a call earlier, and one of my colleagues says, "Sorry, I'm late to the call. I had to shovel out the car and move it so that they could plow my neighborhood." And then she goes, "What's that noise?" "Oh God, it's snowing again." I just finished.
Yeah, there was. It's a bit fell, and then early this afternoon, I was telling my wife. I said, I'm kind of concerned about shoveling out the car now, and she goes, it should be fine. Within an hour later, more snow fell. I'm like,
yeah, it should be fine. Was the kiss of death for you there, buddy?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, there is no way out of it after it should be fine.
You're not lying. You are not lying. You are not lying. All right. Other news this week. Who remembers Movie Pass? Show of hands. And it's Tales of Woes, and that you can watch $9.95 a month, and it's a myriad of problems.
The same woman. We literally talked about Movie Pass on that call this afternoon. I cannot wait to see where this is headed. What are the chances? Go ahead. Because this isn't in my rundown. I have no idea what's about to happen.
Okay. Well, you're going to love this. Mark Wahlberg is producing a documentary series charting the spectacular rise and fall of the infamous movie ticket subscription service Movie Pass. This is from Deadline that reported this. The show is reportedly based on insider reporter Jason Grisario award-winning, I thought I put it rundown, award-winning coverage of the trouble company founded by entrepreneurs Stacy Spikes and Hammett Watt to its takeover by outside investors and eventual demise. Yeah. Wahlberg's production unit, Unrealistic Ideas, that's a weird name for a production company, describes the docuseries as, quote, as an inside look at how players in the investor class can rig the game to ensure their payday regardless of the carnage they leave behind, which I'm loving.
Now I want to produce a documentary on the fall of Radio Shack for the same reason.
Right. The producers told Deadline, quote, it also feature first-hand accounts from MoviePass founder Spikes and Watts and its users who helped fuel a movie-going revolution that was cut short. So there's no word, and also there's also no word on where the MoviePass series will be able to watch. And I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, HBO Max, CBS. Excuse me. Dumb name. Going to March. Paramount Plus. I have literally all lined up. So I'm going to definitely, I don't know how I'm going to put an alert or a notification, but this is going to be, everything else I'm going to put aside.
I'll tell you. There's an app called TV Time.
Okay.
Let me verify that I'm not lying to you about the name.
Okay.
Nope, I'm right. TV Time. And you can go in and mark TVs and movies that you want to or have watched, and mark what you have and what episodes you've watched. I may not still be on. Am I still alive?
Yeah, you're still alive. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't seem to be moving anymore.
You're frozen right now.
Anyway, you can mark your episodes as you watch episodes. You can mark them off, and you'll get alerts when the things that you've marked are premiering.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, cool.
I love it.
Okay.
I am in the process. I don't know what's about to happen. So if you're watching live, I apologize. I'm kind of in the process of developing a show. It is it's kind of a BBC style show, which I'm currently loving, and so I've been watching a lot of BBC shows, and I can mark off the episodes as I go through. I love it. So if it's in there, you can mark it, and when it becomes available, it'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm downloading it as we speak, and for those who are watching live right now, Scott has no video.
Yes, I'm gone too.
Okay. Okay, so
because my black magic card seems to have
okay
crapped out on me. I don't know why. It happens sometimes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, all right, I'm going to do that later. I have it downloaded, so I'm going to do it later. So cool. All right. So yeah, I'm definitely going to I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this, because with MoviePass, it was great at one point. Then all of a sudden, there was talk about the problems with location tracking and forcing you in subscriptions, and then they were changing their bundle or subscription plan.
The fact that a single movie ticket tended to be more expensive than they were paying more for a single movie ticket than you were paying for your subscription.
Right. Yikes. But definitely, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it for that. So that should be very interesting. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this. Definitely keep an eye on it. Okay. And finally this week, it's back. There's a food theme this week, and we didn't have one for January because there was something going on in food related, but there's a finally, yay, woohoo. I'm so happy. I was disappointed because last week I had, when I did the working on the week, there was two in regarding McDonald's again. Oh, and I was so disappointed because I wasn't feeling well, and I'm like, oh, but that's neither here or there. Okay, so there's with the food theme this week, we're going out of this world, literally. Now, if you saw online and or on TV about the Perseverance rover that landed on Mars, which everyone's excited about, I'm not really into that, but that's okay. But NASA is developing plans for missions to Mars and beyond, where people can dream up better food production technologies or systems out in space. Now, with that in mind, the NASA wants to see if we can dream up even better food production. I'll repeat that. So what did I do that? Okay. So with that in mind, NASA is calling it the Deep Space Food Challenge. And if you come up with a clever idea before the competition's close date on July 30th, you might just win part of the $500,000 purse NASA has set aside for the top 20 teams.
That's a lot of money available.
So if you're part of, and I'll tell you something really funny in a second. Yeah, well, actually, I'll do it now. Someone on Twitter said 2 words: Hot Pockets.
Hot Pocket.
Right. Ding.
If you don't say it with the music, it doesn't count.
When I saw that on Twitter, I was busting out laughing. Anyway, So NASA says on the NASA says on the page, quote, food insecurity is a significant chronic problem on Earth in urban, rural, and harsh environments and communities. Disasters can also disrupt supply chains, on which all people depend, and further aggravate food shortages. There's a lot to unpack from this, and we'll have a link in the show notes that you can check out on how to enter. Apparently, there was a research paper that back in September of 2020 that outlined a few different techniques that NASA has used in the past to grow and harvest food in space. One concept involves modifying baker's yeast to produce certain nutrients. With the right equipment, NASA thinks astronauts can grow actively producing yeast in space, which provide the spacefarers with nutrients like beta carotene and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that are typically found in vegetables, and help to maintain eye health. Excuse me. Wow. So there's if you have something really, if you're up to the challenge, you must register by May 28th and submit your phase 1 ideas by July 30th. NASA will award $25,000 up to 20 of its favorite ideas from this round, which will then proceed to phase 2. So there's a lot to unpack on this, and so definitely check up in the show notes. And I was doing a lot of editing on this because holy crap, it was a lot to take in. But just to give you a quick summary of what NASA is doing. So I think that's pretty cool.
Is super cool.
Yeah.
NASA challenges are always interesting.
Yeah.
This one is no different.
Oh, absolutely. And Todd is a big fan of it. And I was, and I knew about the personal requirements, but again, I'm not really into, into space, but I thought, that NASA does a lot of great things, a lot of cool things. And, so this is, and
the stuff they learn ends up being applied outside of just space travel. So,
Right. So if you're a smart enough person and I, go for it, but like I said, if someone puts in or hot pockets in that plan,
that sounds like the internet.
Right. So definitely check it out. And again, it's a full, long, detailed story. This, ironically enough, is for whatever reason, when I was doing the working on the prep, this is from Popular Mechanics. I mean, so
that sounds about right.
Yep. So, all right, there we go. All right, so. And that is the tech news for this week, for Friday, February 19th, 2021. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode, including about the NASA's Deep Space Food Challenge, can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com, and be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune into gncweekly.com/live Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. Also, please sure to click the bell and select always for notifications so you'll not miss the next episode. Also, share this episode to people that that will like to check this episode out. Or what's important, please be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. And be sure to tune in with Scott and Abram Pilch on F5 Refreshing Technology, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at f5live.tv/join us. If you have a comment on this week's episode, including if you have a cuckoo clock or not, we'd love to hear from them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect and connect via email, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm on at Twitter. I'm at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter at TTMABO. Till the next episode of GNC Week in Review. So long.
Ciao.